So today I'm gonna do a solo show just with myself. I wanted to talk about the showing partner model that I have in my business right now, and this is just very important because I'm really passionate about this topic right now because I feel like we as realtors we get to a certain point where we still want to help people out and close more transactions, but we got to get some of our time back. So I've just over meeting a few people, a few key people in my life over the last few years. They've really helped me build this model. So I first want to talk about the showing partner model in a way where you see where I'm at today. I just want to lay the groundwork of where I'm at right now with it, but then I want to take you to where I was because I find that people see where somebody's at and they think that that's where they have to be right then. And I don't think that's the case. You got to see how that person scaled that. So I just want to do an overview, like I said, where I'm at now and how I got there. So as of right now, I have a salaried realtor on staff. So I have Nathan who basically shows majority of the homes for me. So I get a lot of repeat clients, referrals from my past clients. I get a lot of business through my website. And so I had a goal a few years ago, and it was that I wanted to be able to keep selling a lot of real estate, but be able to travel with my wife when I wanted to, or be able to enjoy, Sunday, go to church, or a Saturday with my friends. And so I looked at I looked at I wrote down on a piece of paper, I said, I want to still close all the real estate I can, but I don't want it to all be contingent on me. And what I find is that there's many realtors that they almost don't take on more work because they say like, oh, I don't want to be that busy. And it's really interesting because all you're saying is that you don't want to figure out how to structure it, which is totally cool. If that's your goal, that's cool. But that wasn't mine. So, but I do sit down with a lot of realtors and they'll mention like for example, when I say like, oh, I closed 147 transactions last year, they'll sometimes be like, oh, I would never want to close that many transactions. And that's fine if you don't. But when they say that, sometimes I'm like, I feel like it's just like they couldn't imagine it with their current setup that they're currently living in. But I would argue with them that, they might have worked harder and longer closing their 10 or their 15. They might have worked more hours. So I think if you can learn how to change your mindset and your perspective on things, your life can totally change. So where I'm at now is I have a salaried showing partner. They're a realtor. His name's Nathan. And how this works is I still do the buyer consultation. So I'm on a buyer consultation, whether it's in the office, in the conference room, or Zoom anymore. That's where it's at a lot. He's there. And so I do the buyer consultation like I always have for years. And when I get to the section about how we're going to show homes, I just bring up, I say, hey, I have a showing partner, Nathan, here on the Zoom, and he's going to show you homes. And so what I want to do is when we're done with this meeting, I'm going to set you up on your home portal so you have access to the homes available to you. And I'm going to send you a group text with Nathan and you and me all in it. And then anytime you want to see homes, just group text us back, whether you're screenshotting that house, sending us an MLS number or an address, just send a group text. He'll get it scheduled up with your schedule, the homeowner schedule, and also the listing agent schedule. And so basically every day I have group texts going on with clients and my showing partner, and I'll look at the text. And a lot of times there's nothing I need to do. So I'm just seeing what's going on. If they're asking to show a house, Nathan's got that down. He's getting it all scheduled. He's showing them homes. If they ask something a little bit differently where I feel I need to chime in, I do. And so after they're converted and we do a buyer consultation and that group text goes out, like Nathan's job now every single day is to follow up with these people and find out what homes they want to go see. That's his job, is be customer service, get them into homes and show them homes. Now, when he shows them a house that they like, he'll call me after the showings and he'll say, hey, they like this house. And then I call the client, I structure the deal and I structure everything, all the terms. I structure the offer price, the closing date, the earnest money, what we're asking for as far as terms, the loan, all that. So I structure the contract. And then basically from there, we get the contract prepared and that's how that works. Now, if he goes out and shows them 3 or 4 homes that night and they don't like anything, which is fair, he just texts me. Sometimes he won't even text me anymore. Like he'll just the next day he'll follow up with them again. And we talk every few days about, what's going on with the buyers. What homes are they looking at? Is there anything that I need to do? Sometimes he'll say, hey, Chris, I think you need to step in and you need to make a phone call. I think that having direct access to you is going to be very beneficial. I'll jump on the phone, have a conversation with them and see where it needs to go from there. So that's how the showing partner works now. So he's salaried, and then he's also a commission, a 10% commission through the title company at the closing. And so he gets his salary so that he can, pay his bills and live his life. And then also he gets a financial incentive to close more and more transactions with that 10% at the closing. So that's how that works right now. When I first started this model, I had 2 showing partners. Now I've got it down to 1 showing partner, and that's been very beneficial right now because it's working well. It's so cool because, for example, I posted this the other day on like my Instagram, and and I have actually the dates, and so I'm gonna actually find that on my phone right now, real quick, because it's got all the dates, and it's a really cool story. So let me find it. This is how it reads. So I say, Ben and Amelia closed on their new home. I'm so excited for them. They were another fabulous client that I met online. August 26th. So just go back a few months, right? August 26th. I'm going to give you all the dates so you can see how this works real life. August 26th, I talked to Amelia for the first time while I was in Dallas for a real estate conference. September 2nd, we met virtually on a Zoom to have a buyer strategy session while I was in Prescott with my wife and her family. September 8th, they went under contract on their new home while I was in Oklahoma visiting my parents and checking on my rental homes. October 5th, they closed on their new home while I was in San Miguel at a friend's wedding. I consulted with Ben and Amelia each step of the way, and my showing partner would take them to look at homes. 2 years ago, I had a vision that I'd help more buyers and sellers each year, but still be able to travel with my wife. I speak with many realtors who say they have to work majority of their vacations or they don't take on new clients because they don't want to get too busy. I had the same challenge, but a deep desire to help hundreds of families a year and still be present for the important things in my personal life. You never have to sacrifice one goal for another goal. You have to be willing to have a vision and execute it. I knew I would need someone to help me show homes while I still did the consulting over the phone. I hired 2 realtors on salary so that I could always have someone available to show my clients homes. I now have the best customer experience a client can ask for. When you go after what you want in life, things usually work out for the best. If you're thinking about buying a home, the Bowers team will give you the best customer experience. So basically what I wanted to go over, though, is just that timeline of August 22nd, I talked to them on the phone for the first time while in Dallas. September 2nd, Zoom call while I was in Prescott. September 8th, they went under contract while I was in Oklahoma. October 5th, they closed while I was in San Miguel. So that just shows you that's one client right there, right? So like that's just super cool that you could be traveling and get stuff done. I have countless stories like that. For example, I just put 2 under contract yesterday that were kind of the same situation. So that's where I'm at now. But see, when I tell people that story, they're like, Chris, I can't afford a salary. I don't want to give people my commissions. My clients would never work with anybody else. And let me just stop right there. That one's a limiting belief. Majority of my clientele is repeat clients and referral business, and they still go through the same process with me. And I feel that they feel that it's a better experience now because I have somebody that's always basically on call to show them homes. And I'm still doing everything that they want me to do, which is consult them and really help them throughout this process. So, the showing of the homes, anybody can really get somebody into a home. I think that they're hiring me because they want me to structure their deal, consult them, get through this process, and be able to advise them each step of the way, which I still do. I just realized that I could advise over the phone and Zooms while I was in other states. And so that's why I set it up the way I did. But here's the deal. If you hear what I'm doing now and say that's too much, I want to take you back now, because you scale a company or you scale something by starting, failing a little bit, keep going, and then you work your way up. But if we go back a few years ago, I was I remember being in Huntington Beach. I remember this very vividly. I was in Huntington Beach and I had several buyers who wanted to look at homes that evening, and I had to start calling realtors to show them for me. And that feeling was just like, man, like I wish I had a better setup. I'm having to reach out to like some friends that I know that are realtors or some other people in my brokerage and see like, can you show this client homes? And it worked, right? And it worked for a little while like that. But then what I was thinking is, hey, here's what I could do is just have several realtors on a spreadsheet. So I had some that worked in the North Valley. I had some in the East, West, and South. So I had a few realtors in different parts of town that were willing to show homes per house. And what I found out is if you kept the showing very close to their home base, meaning if you kept that showing close to where they live, that they would do that for a decent fee, right? And so that's what I noticed is they wouldn't travel more than probably about 15 or 20 minutes to show a home for 40 or $50 a house. And so what I did is I developed what I call the time card. And it was just a document. It was just a Word document. And it had 3 sections on it. It was for 3 different houses. So what we would do is anytime anytime I had somebody who wanted to go look at a house, I would just text that realtor in that area and I'd say, "Hey, I've got a showing tonight at 6, this address, can you do it?" Well, maybe they said no. That's why I had backups. Text the next person, they said yes. Well, we had a system, so they had time cards and they knew exactly what to do in order to communicate with me so that I could contact the client quickly and also how they could get paid. And so what we would do is they'd have that time card. So once they showed that house that night, their structure was whether they showed 1 home or 3 homes, is once they were done, they would take a picture of the time card and they would text that to me. That was a system where I knew they were done. And I just wanted to make it where there wasn't a lot of words because on that time card, it said the address, the MLS number, and feedback. So it would say when I got the text, I would read it really quick, the picture of the time card, and it would say, hey, they didn't like this home. It was backed up to the main road. They didn't like this house because the backyard was too small. They love this house. They want to talk about making an offer. I would get that text. I would call them. Even if it said they didn't like any of the houses, I'd still call them and say, hey, I know you just got done showing homes. I know I talked to Steve and he said you didn't like any of them. So that's totally fine. There'll be more tomorrow that hit the market. Let me know again when you want to see a house. And so that texting of the picture to me knew that I needed to call them and either structure an offer to write an offer, or that I just wanted to call them and let them know, hey, let's get it the next time. So that picture helped establish me to call the clients. Now, that time card, I would tell them that they needed to, by midnight that night, scan that into my office, and then my assistant would keep a spreadsheet. She would cut checks on Friday. So that's how we did it for a while, was just cutting checks. Now, here's the deal. I get realtors all the time, and I'm trying to open your mind. And if you don't want it to be open, that's totally cool. But I just want to help you where you can start doing things a little bit differently. Let's say you're like, hey, Chris, I love showing homes, and I'm not out of time in the day and I really like doing this. That's great. What I want to tell you is like structure this just for those times in your life when you do have a client and you do not want to show homes. Meaning, let's say you go to church every Sunday and you just don't want to show homes during that time. Well, let's say you have a client that really wants to see a hot house during that time. You could just do this system for that time. Or let's say it's your anniversary weekend and you're going with your wife to a staycation at a resort and you just don't want to have to do the showing of homes. You still will do the few texts back and forth and get things lined up, but you don't want to actually leave the resort because you're staying there with your spouse and you want them to know that they're important. So let's say you just do it then. Or let's say it's Saturday and it's your kid's T-ball game and you're like, man, I know I got to show homes, but I want to be at the T-ball game. So I would say start setting this up for those people that tell me I love showing homes and I always want to do it. I say, just have this set up for those times in your life where you're on vacation, you've got important things with your family, things like that. And once you start doing that, I think it'll open yourself up to knowing like, wow, I can do this all the time. So that's what I was doing for a little while. I was just doing the time card system and it worked. Well, what happened is as I started doing more and more of these, I started getting more and more buyers because when you're not showing homes every day, when you're not scheduling the showings and going and showing the homes and driving back in rush hour, you can follow up with more people. You actually can take on more clients and you're open to it. Sometimes I think I think some people's structures are we're not, more business could come into our life if we were structured. But when you're exhausted every day, you could hear of somebody buying or selling a house and might not follow up with them because you're just mentally like tired. So that's why I was starting to get more business because I structured it like this. So since I had people going around and showing homes, I could then follow up with more and more leads, bringing more and more business in. Now, the next challenge happened. I say challenge. It was just an opportunity to grow. So the next challenge happened. I got to a point where every morning I was dishing out work, right? I'd be like, hey, trying to find a realtor in this city. Hey, can you show these 2 homes tonight to this client? And hey, reaching out to a few realtors, can you show homes to this client in this part of the city? And after I was doing that every day, I was realizing that turned into a little bit of legwork every morning, trying to dish out that work. Nothing wrong with it. But after a while, I thought, I don't actually want to do that anymore. I've proven that I can do it differently. I would rather just bring somebody into my life on a salary with a commission attached at closing that they now are attached to this client. So they are with them through the whole entire process. So instead of me finding a realtor to show them a home here and there, it was this is my showing partner that shows homes for me. Now, I also want to go to the real world. Now, I don't want to say this is all perfect. I still have some houses that I'll show. I have clients that I love, and I'll still just pop out there because they're genuinely my friends. But in those situations, typically what I do is I still have my showing partners schedule that stuff because I want them to get the lockbox code and the alarm done. I want them to get all that stuff. So when I pop in, I'm just going sometimes to a few showings to meet up with my client who's also my friend. And my showing partner is still really like opening the lock boxes and the doors, and he knows everything about everything. I'm just there because I really just want to be there that day. And there's many times where that happens. Or there's those rare situations. That's what I want to get to is like, this isn't perfect. There's those rare situations where like, I just have to go. And so this isn't perfect. It's just about 95% right, but not 100% perfect. But I really have still situations where I've got to go pop in somewhere, or I want to pop in somewhere, or I just want to go meet that person because I feel like talking to them in person is going to go a lot further than over the phone. I do that many times. So that's how this works. So I like I said, I wanted to lay down the foundation of where I am at. I wanted to show you how I got there because I think that more and more people could really utilize this in their life and they could scale up. And like I said, if you don't want to scale up and you just want to have, you know, a date night with your spouse, or you want to enjoy certain times where you don't show homes, your only alternative is to tell your clients that you can't. You only have a few options on those special nights with your family or your friends or a vacation. You can either not be present there, right, which isn't good, or you have to you don't go to that special event in your life, or you go to the event and you're not present there. And neither of those are really healthy. So I think the world just gets a better experience from you when, you set things up in a way where you can do everything. Like I said in that post on Instagram, I knew that I wanted to sell a lot of real estate. I knew that I still wanted to do a lot of traveling. And those aren't separate goals. Some people are like, well, I can't travel a lot because I have all these clients, or vice versa. And I'm like, no, go do it all. Like, set up your business so that you can do everything you want. And the clients are getting a great experience, and they're getting the best version of you because you're not wore out. So on those consultations with them, you're just at the peak of your performance. But like I said, I learned about some of these models just through going to masterminds and talking to other people. And I'm so forever thankful for the people. One of my buddies name's Dave, and he taught me a lot of this stuff. And I was at dinner with him last week in Vegas. We were at a conference, a real estate conference, and I just thanked him again and said, man, like, if you wouldn't have poured into me, like, I would still be out doing this stuff. And I'm just so thankful for you. So once again, that's where I'm at. That's where I was. There's a middle point to all this. If you need anything, reach out. I'm always down to help people with this model. I'm probably the most passionate about this model right now because it's been so cool to see how it's actually worked in my life, going from zero to 100 on this. And so reach out to me with any questions, and thank you all for listening.